welcome to Taking the Myth, your topical, skeptical discussion show. I'm Stephen Knight, and joining me is journalist, founder of sedar.org, Iram Ramzan. Welcome.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going well, thank you.
Let's just do the how are you bit and pretend that we haven't already done this off air.
Yeah, so how have you been? It's been a while since we've spoken, and it's been a very quiet few weeks, hasn't it?
It's been huge. I mean, just massive stories. I mean, I got suspended from Twitter. That's the big. That's what you're referring to, isn't it? That's what you mean when it's been an eventful week.
Yeah, I hardly noticed, to be fair.
It was the quickest turnaround suspension ever, which I'm grateful for. It was kind of like you're suspended. Oh, you're back. So, I mean, it took Jesus 3 days. I think I was down for 24 hours. So,
does that mean you're better than Jesus?
Well, of course. Obviously, on account of my existence. So we were planning to do this last week, and we'd managed to squeeze an hour in. We're both very important and busy people. And then the day we were due to record this, the Westminster attacks happened, which we're going to speak about at great length, I'm sure. But I thought before we get into the doom and gloom of that, talk a few positives. I've got on the notice board, which is tied into London actually, I was at the National Secular Society's Secularist of the Year Award. Try saying that when you had a few drinks.
Can I just say, on a positive note, I had a haircut.
Iram had a haircut. What have you gone for?
It's nice and short again.
Literally cutting edge news. See what I did there?
Yes, I did. Very good.
So I was down in our capital. I know you spent a bit of time in London, which is not related to the Westminster attacks.
I did. I channeled Philip Schofield. I was so inspired by Philip Schofield sticking one to Baghdadi. I thought, you know what? If Philip Schofield can do it, why can't I?
So you're referring to Philip Schofield's walk of solidarity on the Westminster Bridge, is that right?
Yes.
Why isn't that man aging? Why is he not aging?
I think he's always looked that way. I think he just went, silver at the age of
silver devil.
15.
No idea.
Not so fox.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that Gordon the Gopher's not in quite the same shape nowadays, but, meth will do that to you.
Well, yes.
You might be a bit too young for a Gordon the Gopher reference.
I just pretended I knew. I don't think I was convincing. Yeah.
Well,
nod.
I like the National Secular Society. I'm a member. I like the personnel. I like their mission statement. I like the work they do. And they're one of the few organisations that do that kind of work in the professional manner that they do. So I'm a member, and I try and get along to the Secularist of the Year. See, so hard to say. Secularist of the Year award events every year. Charlie Hebdo won it about 3 years ago. Then Educate Together won it. And this year, a lady called Yasmin Raymond took the award. I don't know if you're familiar with her at all.
Yes, I'm very, very familiar with Yasmin Rahman. Really a wonderful person. She's part of One Law for All as well. Prominent secular activist. She's also a Muslim as well, and because she is a secular activist, does prompt some religious people to ask her, well, how can you be secular and a Muslim? Because the two are obviously incompatible. Yeah, it's inconceivable that anyone would want to only want religion to be a very private affair rather than ramming it down other people's throats. And Yasmin's one of those people, she believes in her faith. It gives her comfort, but she believes strongly in secularism as well, and she's done a lot of wonderful work as part of One Law for All, highlighting the issues in religious councils such as Sharia councils. She's been doing work on that and highlighting some of the injustices faced by women who go to these councils, and I think she's a very, very worthy winner.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I wasn't familiar with her as an individual. I'm familiar with the work One Law for All do. I'm got a lot of admiration for what they do. But there was one. I mean, you mentioned she identifies as a secularist, and she speaks about how that gets her some flack and how people don't expect that of her. She also identifies as a feminist, which is probably just as equally problematic for people. But one thing that, I was there. I recorded the acceptance speeches. So if anyone wants to listen to that, it's episode 97 of this podcast. It's out there now. One thing that really came through in her speech was the fact of how dangerous this kind of thing is for a woman in Islamic communities to speak out against these things. She's had numerous interactions with the police over this. Her family have been threatened, not just her receiving threats. Her family received threats, and it kind of paints a very disturbing picture of 2017 UK society, when being a woman speaking up against things like the forced veiling and Sharia courts can get you death threats from other British people.
Really? Oh gosh, well, this is very new territory for us.
Yeah.
I'm shocked, I tell you.
Shocked.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Yasmin, when you meet her and you speak to her, she's a lovely person. She's just so benign as well. There's just nothing bad about her.
She's lovely.
So it's surprising that somebody like her would get death threats, but on the other hand, it's not really much of a surprise. Anyone who speaks out, challenges the status quo, anyone who is challenging these fundamentalists in our communities always will face a bit of backlash, and that's exactly what happens to Yasmin. She was on the BBC Asia Network, I think it was yesterday, speaking about her award and the work that she's done. And she was just talking about how she believes that the younger generation is probably less secular than those of her parents' generation. And I'm not talking about maybe those from a non-religious background. I'm specifically talking about those from Muslim backgrounds, the ones that really believe in identity politics, who have started wearing hijab more, wearing niqab more, and really pushing away their parents' culture because they think it's un-Islamic. So they take on this, this pseudo-religious identity, and it's something that is very alien to her. And I think a lot of people will identify with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, maybe as an aside, I've noticed the internet's a little bit angry with Alicia Keys before I came to record. She's done something with a burqa or something, hasn't she? What she tweeted out. Have you seen this? We
should celebrate one another's. Yes, and she posted a picture and it had some sort of lovey-dovey hippie-ish quote on it about how we should love each other and accept differences. And in the picture, there was a woman wearing a niqab but then flashing a bare leg, which would probably get
Haram.
You Saudi Arabia. Yeah, definitely.
Haramming all over the place.
Yeah, although I don't know, I thought it was quite an erotic picture, to be honest. That's quite sexy. Can you imagine, like, a woman walking down the street wearing a niqab, she just flashes you her leg? I'm
not sure there'd be much demand for it in Ann Summers. I mean, I can't see that taking off on the UK high street. Nurse's outfit, cheerleader. I mean, some people, I've seen nun outfits. It's a possibility. Burqa. Not entirely sure.
Burqa on the dance floor, you never know. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, how these things are just fetishized and made to be so exotic, and we should accept all these different, these differences. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to celebrate something that is subjugating women. I find it offensive. I wouldn't tell a woman to take it off, because that's her choice, but equally I'm not going to celebrate it.
Yeah, exactly.
As a diverse thing. No.
It's one of them difficult positions because I mean, how diverse the northwest is of England. I work with girls with hijabs on, and it doesn't really register because it's that commonplace for me. But in a way, it's it is a ideological statement. It is almost a political statement in a way to wear it. And I suppose that might bring us on to the ruling in the European Court about the workplace and these things. I know you've been keeping on top of that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the top of your head on it.
Well, it was reported as some sort of, as a headscarf ban when it really wasn't a ban on a headscarf. I think the reason for that is because there were two cases brought to the European Court of Justice. And on Seda, Tahmina Kazi wrote a piece sort of just examining the ruling and some of the facts behind it. And it's because two women who both wear headscarves to work brought their cases to the court. So the first one was a Belgian woman She'd been working as a receptionist for G4S Secure Solutions, and then she later started wearing a headscarf to work. She was fired due to the workplace regulation which bans employees from wearing signs and symbols of all political, philosophical, and religious beliefs.
Right, so equal.
So they believe in establishing neutrality in the dress code. So it's nothing to do with it's not targeting any one particular person. It's for everyone. And then there was a French woman working for Micropole. She was asked to stop wearing a headscarf to maintain neutrality because one of her clients complained. She refused. She was dismissed. The ECG ruling was, I think it was more sympathetic to the French claimant, the Belgian claimant. And the ruling is basically about whether workplaces have the right to treat expressions of all political, philosophical, or religious beliefs in the same way. And then also whether there's direct versus indirect discrimination. So you can have an instance where someone is directly discriminating against one particular group, or they'll enforce a certain ruling which they know will indirectly discriminate against a particular group. So probably an indirect discrimination would be, I don't know, as Tehmina pointed out, the chief exec of a pizza delivery company who bans all employees from wearing headgear. So even though it applies to all employees, it's disproportionately disadvantaged Sikh men because they wear turbans. So I think this is all going to be on a case-by-case basis, and Europe is a lot different to the UK. I think we're by and far a bit more lenient here. Nobody really has a problem with a headscarf.
No, I'd like I said, it barely registers anymore, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's just become normalised, hasn't it? I think most people would have a problem with the face veil, the niqab. There was, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a case a couple of years ago where a school support assistant in Yorkshire refused to remove her niqab because she was required to work with male colleagues. She took the case to a tribunal and she lost because
she can't do a job.
Yeah, she can't. I mean, come on, she's working with children. I think it's ridiculous that she would even consider wearing it. But anyway, and there was another one which I think there's a lady who was wearing a headscarf, and she went for a job at a hair salon. And she was awarded £4,000 by a tribunal because the salon owner said, to promote her salon, the employees need to have really amazing hair on display. But she couldn't do it, obviously, because she wore her headscarf. So they found that this was indirect discrimination because it's going to put Muslim women who cover their hair at a disadvantage. So it's not that clear cut, but it all comes down to common sense, I think, really. No one's going to, I think hardly anyone's going to say, oh, you wear a headscarf, get out, we're not going to employ you. But a lot of people were just so hysterical when this ruling came in. It was instantly labelled a headscarf ban when it really is no such thing.
Well, I mean, this is something I did want to talk about, but I suppose it's a nice segue into it. It's the same really when the laptop ban was announced. That became another Muslim ban because obviously it was it related directly to Muslim majority countries again, but there was so much hysteria about how this isn't really based in security or any sort of credible intelligence, but it's just another way to inconvenience Muslims, to make them not feel welcome. I mean, if that's the plan, I've got a few more suggestions rather than taking their electronics off them for a flight. Do you know what I mean? I can't understand how that can't be anything but, okay, we have a good reason to believe that these devices may be used for purposes other than watching Game of Thrones. I mean, and I think it relates directly into that. I don't know if you know that Somali flight where the man managed to blow himself out the side of the plane managed to claim a victim body count of 1 himself. Detonated himself on the plane. Blew a hole in the side of it. Luckily, the plane was at too low of an altitude for it to really cause major problems, but it had to land. Obviously, everyone survived. Turns out later, they believed that he smuggled a laptop on board which had the explosive device in. The plane that crashed on the way back from Egypt, the consensus seems to be now that was an explosion. The residue found on the wreckage, the fact that the plane broke up the way it did, heat signatures on satellite imagery seem to point towards it being an explosion on board, causing pretty immediate catastrophic failure to the cabin pressure. So they're not sure the means of that explosion, whether it was this laptop or not, but it just seems to me they know that people are trying to smuggle explosives onto a plane using electronic devices, and rather than waste the manpower and resources to check every electronic device and put the trust into other airlines to do that efficiently and competently, it makes sense that they just stow them with the rest of the luggage just to solve that problem while they figure out what's going on.
First of all, what an Islamophobe you are.
Yep.
And secondly, what a moron that Somali guy was. He couldn't even manage to kill people, just blew himself off. Wow. He has to really be up there with that underwear bomber, I think. But I think you're right. I think that the issue that some more sensible people had with this was whether this just makes sense, really, and what the rationale behind it. It just seemed a bit odd, really, because smartphones are allowed, but Kindle e-readers and iPads are not.
It depends.
Either a laptop.
It was the size of smartphones over a certain size. I think it's how much of this whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they were saying things as well, like First, idiots were saying, well, why can't they tell us? Why? And my point is, it's not really in the best interest of a nation to give away, to tell people how other people are intending to kill you. It's not helpful to release your intelligence in that regard. Secondly, they were making it a Trump issue. Oh, it's Donald Trump. It's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. And then they soon shut up when the UK followed suit. So I just don't understand why we can't have a non-hysterical conversation about security and terrorism. Hysterical. Everything, we can't have a rational, sensible debate about anything. It has to be, we have to be outraged, about absolutely anything we could think of. And you're right. It would be really stupid of security services or airlines to reveal exactly why they're banning something and the methods in which people can use those devices to kill us. I don't think that would be very sensible. But I'm guessing this would probably is it a temporary ban, do you think? Or do you think it's going to be in force for a long time? I think it might be standard now, now that, thanks to one dickhead, I have to take my shoes off every time I go through the airport. And
yeah, but you can put your shoes back on. It's not, it really annoys me when you hear people moaning about airline security and they'll say, oh, I was patted down a bit too vigorously, blah, blah, blah. And I think, okay, maybe it's wrong for them to judge you just because you're brown and Muslimic looking. Yeah, that's indirect discrimination. But if all you're getting is just an extra patting down, then shop.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but
when I'm in an airport and
things, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, when I'm in an airport and I see someone who's of a Muslim appearance, I kind of point at him to the side, to the security, and wink at the security and say, "This guy, check this guy, check this guy." Only kidding, of course. I made the mistake of walking through I was really tired, it was a dead early flight, and I walked through the metal detector. So I took all my electronics out, I took my belt off, I took my shoes off, keys, and then proceeded to walk right through with a wallet in my pocket. So they kind of, when you do something that stupid, they go out the way then to go through the full works with you, because they're like, you're the idiot who just walked through a metal detector with your wallet in your pockets. And I had my arm in a cast at the time. I'd broke my wrist playing football. That's the official excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So they swabbed that down for drugs as well, and checked, give me a proper pat down inside thigh, up the back, under the arms, and things like that. So
I bet you'll never do that again, will you?
Never. Lesson learned. But my main, to be serious, I don't understand why people are opposing this. I don't understand why Muslims are opposing it, because the Muslims are on the plane that might get blown up too. So, and, you know, overwhelmingly, there's no doubt in my mind, the most Muslims that fly every day have no intention of blowing up an aircraft. They'll still be on the aircraft, though, when one out of whatever number it is decides to get on there with their iPod and get all Allahu Akbar in mid-flight. So I would have thought that they would have been like, yes, okay, because, you know, this is going to save my life too. I just can't understand the resistance to it and the incredulity that comes from people when you say, actually, I think this isn't probably the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, and it's only from a few countries. I remember there was a debate on the BBC Asian network, more on this particular station later. But there was a discussion on there in which some people were just going on about how discriminatory it is, and one person was saying, "Oh, but you know, what about my child who needs the iPad to play? What are we going to do now? How am I supposed to keep my child entertained during flight? Oh, give him a colouring book or something."
Oh, colouring book, yeah, colouring book, that works. That's fine.
Colouring book, you know, other toys they can play with them. You have to really wonder what people did before the invention of the iPad. Just give them a load of M&Ms before you board the flight, so they're really, really hype, and then by the time they're on the plane, they'll just crash and sleep.
You know, when my godless utopia comes to fruition, you'll have to stow your fucking child before you get on a plane.
There's nothing worse than sitting near a screaming baby. Oh my God, but that's probably a discussion for...
We've probably enraged a lot of parents right now, so I'm going to...
We'll probably have. We're going to get a fatwa on our heads from parents.
Okay, well, I was in Westminster Parliament about 3 weeks ago. I had a little snoop around there. I always try and get to Westminster whenever I go to London. There's just something unbelievably iconic about it, quite prestigious.
You weren't doing anything terroristy, were you?
I was not casing the joint. But I mean, one thing I did notice, because I went inside and I got a visitor's pass, and the security there is, as you would imagine it is, it's very James Bond. They've armed police everywhere the eye can see. Airport security. I mean, I had to take my shoes and my belt off to get in there. Electronics, pat down, etc. before you get in, and you just feel no one's getting in there uninvited, really.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I had the same experience when I went this month.
Right, great. So, as we know, this last week, a man in a car came down Westminster Bridge at speeds of up to 76 miles per hour, I believe, mounted the curb, hit a number of people. You know, one woman got thrown into the Thames, which is the river that runs under the bridge. Because of it, the man then crashed into the gate of Westminster Palace, managed to get on the grounds, stabbed a police officer several times who unfortunately died of his injuries before our security services swiftly took him out with a few gunshots to the chest. I think the entire ordeal lasted something in the region of 80 seconds or so from beginning to end. And I was quite obviously horrified. You get that horrible... I mean, the news came in while I was at work, and you get that horrible sickening feeling in your throat when you know something bad's happening, and it's kind of 1 minute you're in disbelief, the next minute you're angry, and it's depressing. These people died. There's still people severely injured, and the conversation unfortunately has not progressed since the last attack in Europe, or the last one before that, It's the same things over and over again, and I just wondered what your observations were on this horrible attack.
Well, I was just finishing a training session, and I looked at the TV and I thought, what on earth is going on here? And I thought, please do not tell me it's going to be some sort of Islamist-related attack. And hey, presto, it was. It was just astonishing to watch all of that happening, because, you know, due to the situation of the world, we know something's going to happen. It's like we're waiting for it to happen. And we've seen so many terrorist incidents across Europe, and you just think, oh, it's probably a matter of time before something happens here. You don't want to think that, and you don't want to believe it, but if you're realistic, you just know something will happen. But fortunately, the death toll wasn't that high.
It's a miracle, really, because when I visited the Parliament, obviously I think he wanted to attack whilst the government was in Parliament. Our Prime Minister, Theresa May, was in the Parliament, was evacuated very quickly. But if he'd have done that on a Saturday with the tourists around, they'd be a very, very different picture.
Oh, definitely. You have to really marvel at our security services and our police force.
Yeah, I was very proud of our work.
They dealt with the situation really, really swiftly and took him out before he could do any more damage. I think that's probably why a lot of people were taking pictures on the Westminster tube station on Sunday with the few police officers that were there, because I think this is one of those moments where you just really appreciate the hard work that they do, to keep us safe.
Yes, agreed, absolutely.
But I'm just every time something like this happens, we just have the same debate. It's always, we must stand united. This has nothing to do with Islam or religion. This is a perversion of Islam. He wasn't even a Muslim who did this.
Yeah, he took drugs, he drank, criminal record. So, Muslims, in order to be a pure Muslim, you must never drink. So that's the message they're reinforcing. Their intentions are almost good. They're almost saying this has got nothing to do with Islam. It's not a Muslim issue because he drank. But then on the other side, they're saying that unless you adhere to an incredibly conservative interpretation of that faith, you're not a real Muslim. So it's just equally as harmful as far as I'm concerned, that message.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of people who always say, he was a Muslim, right? You look at them and you think, hang on a minute. You don't pray. You probably don't fast yourself. You dress in a way that conservative Muslims wouldn't like. They wouldn't really regard you as behaving Islamically. And yet, at the same time, you're pointing at somebody else and saying, he's not a real Muslim because he did this or because he did that, as though they're without sin. But it's ridiculous, because we all know people are hypocrites. Religious people in particular, they are hypocrites. They will do things that are not allowed in their holy books, supposedly, like drugs or drinking. And if you look at the profiles of a lot of terrorists, Islamist terrorists in particular, who've committed atrocities, they have gone on this weird, drink and drug spree before they've done anything. And it's not as if the two have to be mutually exclusive. You took drugs, or you had a glass of whiskey, but therefore you can't be a Muslim terrorist. You're just a violent man who's got a drink or mental health problem. And I actually think that's more offensive to people who have mental health problems, because you're saying this is what mental health issues allow you to do. So anytime somebody does something we don't like, he must have mental health problems.
Let's
not
demonize all Muslims, but let's demonize all people with mental health issues who which ranges from, I have post-traumatic stress disorder to violent schizophrenia and everything in between. Let's generalize those people and the people who have mental health issues but manage to go through their daily life without getting all jihadi on Westminster Bridge.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be worth mentioning at this point that usually it's framed in terms of the poor brown boy with no opportunities. This guy was a middle class. I think he's a black man, but he was a convert. He wasn't some product of the the Muslim diaspora or whatever. He's a convert. He converted, or revert, should we say? He converted in prison, by all accounts, and that's a very common theme. Apparently there was some government report about it not so long ago. It's almost used as a protection racket in prison. In order to get protection and be kept safe, you have to convert there. These people going in there like Dave from Swinton and coming out with a big bushy beard pointing to the sky, and it's quite common apparently, and it's something that the security services are increasingly concerned about. I believe Anjem Chowdhury's there was debating it, I don't know if he is, but he may be in solitary confinement most of the time, because somebody like him could really thrive. He could probably do the most damage that from the inside than he ever could on the outside, because he's got a steady line of people who've possibly already got violent violent histories, and he could turn them towards jihad with that kind of persona. It's not a good mix. But we're talking about. I mean, we had Peter Hitchens on the Big Questions. He puts jihadism down to. How can a man who's so clearly intelligent and well read and well spoken be so utterly stupid on set topics? I mean, he puts every act of terrorism and jihadism down to drug use and petty crime and things like that, and completely ignores the ideological component. Now, people like me will get accused of pinning it all on Islam. No, I don't. There's several factors that go into the makeup of a jihadist. I just think an ideological one is, a prime component. And the only reason I bang on about it as much as I do is because no one in the mainstream really wants to acknowledge it. And whenever they do voice it, they get slapped down.
Yeah. Anytime you even talk about it, it's a case of nothing to do with Islam. Muslims are peace-loving. Islam means peace. Islam condemns violence and terrorism. But what would you even say to something like that? Because then if you say it must have something to do with Islam, then you're accused of tarring all Muslims with the same brush. But we're not saying that at all.
Definitely not. Well, I mean, as an aside, the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan's getting a lot of stick for his comments afterwards. He said something around I'm paraphrasing, so please look it up yourself if you've not seen this, but he said terror attacks were part and parcel of life in the big city. Now, I've only seen that quote. I've not watched him or observed him say it, so I can't be sure whether they're being a little bit unfair in the way they're reporting this, or whether he's being very myopic in his view and very insensitive in the way that he's speaking about this. I don't know if you have an opinion on it.
I think, he said that. I think he said it before the attack happened, I think.
Is that right?
I think so. I'm sure it was. If I'm wrong, please someone correct me. But because I remember Tariq Fatah had a massive go at him. But I think it was in a tweet. I think he said it, but I don't think he meant it in a way that Tariq Fatah implied. He's just saying when you're head of a massive international city, you don't discount terrorism. You know that it's a possibility and you do everything you can to prepare for it. I think that's what he meant. I don't think he was trying to say, oh, well, deal with it. I don't think he meant that at all. But I think a lot of people were just blowing that out of proportion.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I mean, to be honest, we're constantly, our threat level is always at the highest, and it has been for some time. We're told we're told we're in imminent danger. The threat's imminent. Our security services are foiling them all the time. So in a way, terrorism, unfortunately, and has become a part of living in a city or a high density area, with population. So it is one of those things, and I don't say that to be blasé about it. I say that because that's the reality, and I only imagine it getting more common in the coming years, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right. It's a threat that's not going to go away, unfortunately. It's the world that we live in. Islamist terrorism is one of the biggest threats that we have. But then I know some people out there will say, "Oh, but you're not mentioning the far right." Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the far right is a threat, and the far right thrives because of Islamist extremism. The two kind of feed off of one another in a way, but it's. I think a lot of the people out there who, the virtue signalers always need to make a point when they talk about Muslim extremists. They say, but we have to talk about the far right as well, the rise in the far right. I think it's a threat, but, how many far right terrorist incidents have we seen compared to, Islamist atrocities?
I'm calling bullshit on this virtue signalling with the far right. They don't mean the far right, they mean white people, because I get told, why don't you go after the far right? To which I respond, what do you think Islamists are? Are they lefty lovies, far lefty lovies? I don't think so somehow. So what they say is when they say you don't go after the far right, they mean I don't go after white people, because they see Muslims and white people as opposites, which to me is racist.
Yeah. I mean, come on, you have groups like, you had Muslim Beg standing up and speaking out on this Stand Against Racism platform a couple of days ago. And I thought, you are part of the far right, I would argue. You, in your ideal Islamic caliphate, non-Muslims would be third-class citizens. You would bring stoning adulterers to death in force, but with due process. Let's be fair. You'd want someone to go to court before they were lashed or whipped or had stones and
but
bricks thrown at them. They're not completely barbaric. So yeah, you're right. That's what they do. Oh, you're right. These people, they are part of the far right. It's just that they're brown, or if they're converts, they are white, I guess.
Or ginger.
The Muslim ginger. Yeah, they're the religious far right. And in this climate, I guess sometimes people feel, oh, we don't want to add to tension, so we've got to stand with people and show solidarity. I'm all for showing solidarity, but let's not blatantly lie and deny that there are problems there. Yes, the far right's an issue, but but white far right, if we're going to be a bit more specific, but that feeds off the Islamist extremists. But I mean, they do capitalize on it. I mean, look at, I wouldn't say, I don't know if Tommy Robinson counts as far right, but he went down to London when it happened just to make a video and say, "Oh, I told you so."
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's been shouting about it a lot, and I think it was really shameful of the authorities to ignore him back when he was raising issues. And obviously what that means is when you ignore such people, it just makes the situation worse. I think Tommy Robinson was just wrong in going all the way down to London just to make this video and say, "Oh, I told you so." I mean, did he go down there to help out or anything? Or was it just a case of saying, "Oh, look, I told you so. I was right all that time"? I just didn't see the point of it. But for
it wasn't
people
helpful.
No.
Didn't bring anything to the moment, did it? Didn't aid the situation in any way, shape or form. I don't think people need a told you so at that moment.
No, nobody needs a told you so at that moment. It's just highly insensitive. But then at the same time, there are people out there who act as though Tommy Robinson is as bad as this Khalid Masood. Well,
right-wing, neo-Nazi, racist, fascist, thug. Those terms are interchangeable when he's in the vicinity.
That's the problem that I have. These words that are thrown around, calling people far right or fascist or racist. Okay, like Nigel Farage. I might not like the guy or agree with all his points, but would you really describe him as the far right or a fascist?
They've just become synonyms for people with different views. That's all it is, and it seems to be a lefty problem.
I don't like what you say or stand for, so I'm just going to call you a fascist.
And that's one of my main points in my opposition to smacking people in the face who you think may or may not be a Nazi, because those terms are so loose that it'll come back round one day. Yeah, once we normalise punching people in the kisser for being a quote-unquote Nazi, you'll soon find a fist in your face eventually. So let's just not punch people. Let's not just punch anyone for speaking. But I mean, what I wanted to draw attention and maybe spend a couple of minutes to talk about that poor woman in the hijab on Westminster Bridge who almost immediately, when photos of this horrible attack started emerging of people lay on the bridge receiving aid who had been run over by cars, this woman's walking past, she's got a headscarf on, she's got a phone looking down, she's got a hand on the side of her face. Now, to anyone who isn't blinded by prejudice, she just looks like a woman in distress to me walking through a very, very horrific situation. A number of people didn't see it that way. Milo Yiannopoulos tweets it, well, not tweets it because he's been banned from Twitter, puts it on Facebook with the caption, "Some are more concerned than others." The implication there is she's walking past, doesn't give a shit. He's almost saying she probably endorses this kind of thing.
God.
It originated from some guy called Texas Lone Star, some guy, I think that's where it originated on Twitter. He was the first one to give the photo that spin. He says, "Muslim woman pays no mind to the terror attack, casually walks by a dying man while checking her phone. Hashtag ban Islam." Tommy Robinson tweeted it out as well. Neo-Nazi, right-wing, racist thug, Tommy Robinson. Richard Spencer, alt-right and absorber of punches. He tweeted it out as well with the caption, "Walk on by." So, and Stefan Molyneux as well. I don't know much about him, but I've seen his name pop up. He's got quite a lot of followers. He's put no words, and I think he should really find some now that we've established that she was absolutely appalled and distressed. Because moments, I've got a Canon camera, quite fancy one. It's ridiculous how many photos you can take in 2 seconds with the thing. And I think this is one of the things where, Ed Miliband and the Bacon Butty, I think if you took 60 pictures a minute of me eating something, I'd look like a monster troll who'd never seen a sandwich in his life as well. So it's one of them things where one image in a second doesn't, like a fraction of a second, doesn't tell you much about anything in terms of what that person's doing or thinking. And that happened when a photo emerged a little bit later of the same instance of her about a fraction of a second later, quite clearly distressed expression on her face. And there was loads of people on that bridge walking on by. They've all got their different stories. They've all got their own situations. They've all got different reasons, not to mention the fact the bridge was being evacuated at the time. And, what you're going to do if someone... all these people they were walking past had 3 or 4 people around them providing aid anyway. What are you going to do there? So I felt really sorry for this girl. Not only has she been right in the middle of a horrible terror attack, she's got home to her loved ones who are probably worried about her. She's probably distressed. She's logged on to the Facebook or Twitter, and fuck me, look what everyone's saying about me. I've just come from a terrorist attack, and all of a sudden I don't care, and I'm a heartless, stealthy jihadist. So I wrote a little blog about that, and I'm luckily... it's been picked up other places as well. It's had over 30,000 reads. Louis Theroux retweeted it, Iram.
Oh, really?
Louis Theroux, the man, LT, put it out there as well, which I was quite proud of.
Word.
You know what I've noticed? You can spend 4 years writing negatively about Islam and everyone hates you. You write one defensive piece about a girl in a hijab and suddenly you're a hero for a day. I'm getting quite tempted by this regressive law. I think I might just go over to the dark side and start, writing leave Muslims alone pieces, because honestly, the adulation, the love. Oh, Iram, I think it's time that I reassessed my position in life.
Okay, I think you are definitely worthy of a punch in the face right now.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
I'm actually nauseous. But
I have been thinking a lot about how the hijab's a symbol of female empowerment. I think they might have a point. I might write something about that too.
I think I might drop kick you in the face.
That's a symbol of female empowerment.
But the thing is, if anyone who knows even just a bit about body language can tell you when someone has their face to the side like that, it does show that person is in distress. Even from far, you could tell. It didn't look like she was dancing.
I was going to say, you were speaking like she was doing the fucking conga.
Accomplice, for fuck's sake. Yeah. She did look upset, and I'm sorry, but if you're like you said, if you're on a bridge and you're being evacuated or you're being told to get out, you're not just going to stand around and, what did people expect her to take a selfie of herself, like, saying, oh,
hashtag sad face,
Philip Schofield.
Yeah, they treated her like she was firing an AK-47 in the air whilst waving an ISIS flag. That's how she was treated.
Bin Laden t-shirt.
Yeah.
For God's sake. Seriously. And then people posted a picture of the opposite direction where there was a guy on his phone, but no one was saying anything about him.
Exactly.
But he was white, so that's okay.
He was white. He was fine. Beige trousers. He deserved some level of opprobrium for the beige trousers, if I'm honest. But luckily she released a statement via that highly trustworthy and diligent organisation Tell Mama. We'll leave that there. Explaining, what any decent person suspected anyway. She was distressed. She was just trying to get off there. She'd already tried to assist other people and things like that. So I think we can draw a line under that. I'm just very disappointed with the way a lot of people ran with that.
It was appalling. For goodness sake, really. This is one of the things that really does piss me off about social media at times, just how hysterical people get on both sides of the argument.
Well, the problem is as well, I don't think these people realise the people who went for her were typically the people who are familiar with the problem of Islamism and probably spend a large proportion of their time banging the drum about that, which is fine. But what they don't understand is they weaken their cause when they do things like this. When they go for somebody for no good reason other than the fact she's got a hijab on, and attribute the worst possible characteristics to her purely because of that, they then give license to every person in the regressive left to go, oh, look what happened to this poor innocent woman in England on the bridge who had nothing to do with it, victim of a terror attack. And the thing is, they're right. It was just pure bigotry and pure prejudice.
Yeah. That's what they do. Both people on the right and left of the spectrum, they just treat Muslims as one big block. There's no room for nuances, #nuances in the debate. They're like, oh, all Muslims are the same. They're all victims, or all Muslims are the same. They're all actually potential terrorists. There's nothing in between, basically.
Okay, well, do you have anything else to add about Westminster before I move on?
Yeah, solidarity with Philip Schofield. That's all I'm going to say with that.
Solidarity.
I think Baghdadi is a lot weaker now that Philip Schofield has walked that bridge.
Party in the broom
Philip Schofield
cupboard.
brought down Baghdadi.
# Gordon the Gopher. Okay, you'll be Googling that later. Google images. Gordon the Gopher.
How do I not know who Gordon the Gopher is? Is that just because I'm really young and you're well old?
Decrepit. Yeah, so I'll leave that. Something to look forward to. YouTube it, actually. Forget about Google Images. YouTube Gordon the Gopher, and you can see how that silver bastard hasn't aged. I think it's time for the ASLAN Awards.
There's this misconception that people derive their values from their scriptures. Who goes to hell?
Gays, fags, hundreds and hundreds of Jews.
You identify yourself as gay. Why do you then choose to be a Muslim when it says explicitly in Judeo-Christian tradition that is prohibited?
There's this misconception that people derive their values from their scripture.
The ASLANs.
Okay, I've got 2 contenders for the ASLAN Award this week. I don't think we've done this for a while. I'm quite perplexed. I wrote an angry blog about this on the train to London, actually. And
Must be serious.
Yeah, it was serious. The BBC Asian Network asked the question, what is the right punishment for blasphemy? Now, I don't...
Death, obviously.
Death. I don't listen to the Asian Network because I don't like Asians.
You don't like brown people.
I just don't listen to the radio much, really. And this question on Twitter was in response to Pakistan asking Twitter to take the issue of blasphemous, quote-unquote, blasphemous material on their social networking serious. As far as I'm aware, Twitter had actually sent a group of people to meet with officials in Pakistan to discuss. In 2017, Twitter's sending people from their HQ to talk to people in Pakistan about blasphemous content on their social network and what can be done about it. I mean, that's...
Oh, mashallah.
Mashallah. That's a topic. That's enough to get anyone angry. But the fact that a UK broadcaster, the BBC, one of our radio stations, decided to lead with the question, what is the right punishment for blasphemy, as the discussion topic, just made my head almost explode. I mean, this was Shazia Arwan. She was the commentator, the broadcaster, the presenter who was asking this question. Big smiley face on the tweet. BBC Asian Network, what is the right punishment for blasphemy? Thoughts, Iram?
Well, obviously we hang the blasphemous fuckers, don't we? Duh. That's the right punishment.
It's the only way.
It's the only way they'll learn. Come on, we need a strong deterrent. You do not have a right to question or mock anyone's beliefs. How hard is that for you to understand? That
the way that question's phrased, they could have got the same discussion going with a completely reasonable question.
Yeah,
like
they could have said, "What do you think of Facebook sending a team out to Pakistan?"
Yeah. I mean, if that's not 140 characters or below worthy, you could have gone with should Pakistan abolish its blasphemy laws, and you're going to get the same kind of responses anyway.
Yes,
people who are pro blasphemy.
But for them to ask, what is the right punishment? It's the assumption there is that there should be a punishment in the first place. to be fair to Shazia, when I was listening to the show later on, she said she doesn't believe in it. She was challenging all the guests who came on who said that they believed in a death penalty for blasphemy. Seriously, people actually calling the radio who believe in the death penalty.
Did they have
blasphemy.
really thick Leeds accents?
Yeah, I think we should hang anyone who commits blasphemy.
That's the thing, though, because I'm not disparaging Leeds specifically. It was just the first the first regional accent that came to my head. My point is that these people think that these views are people living in the Middle East who are far removed from secular democracies, when it's not. It's somebody who's grown up in Leeds in the life.
To be fair, the one guy who's a really strong proponent of it had a bit of a thick Asian accent.
Okay.
So yeah, that kind of goes. That theory just goes
completely.
Down. Yeah.
I think we should be killing people for saying bad things about God. That's my West Midlands accent. Thank you.
I don't even know what to say in response to that now. I think we should just end it there.
Well, it's important to mention that they did apologise, didn't they, for this?
Oh, well, they had to. Oh my God, so many people on Twitter, rightly so, were incensed and outraged about it and said, why on earth are you even asking a question like that? I mean, even Majid Nawaz raised it on LBC. That's how bad it was. So yeah, they had to apologise because it was a stupid fucking question. Why would you ask something like that? But you know what was interesting? There was a guest on that show towards the end of the show who said he was a long-time listener of the BBC Asian Network, and he said that he's been listening to the station probably since day one, and he said the station has never invited on Salman Rushdie, the author of Satanic Verses, and that led to him receiving a fatwa from Ayatollah Khomeini. He said, you've never interviewed him, and you never invited him on the station, nor have you interviewed any other controversial authors. But I guess I see why, because you're on the front line of it, you'd probably get a lot of complaints. But yes, I understand that they're going to get some angry responses, but at the same time, why are they mollycoddling their listeners? Shouldn't we be challenging people and their views rather than saying, well, you know what? Most of our listeners will probably be offended, so we're not going to talk about anything really controversial. That's actually more, I think. I
completely agree. I mean, it probably leads into the hashtag we've seen trending on Twitter these last few days, Hang Ayaz Nizami. Now, this is a young man from Pakistan. He was arrested and charged with blasphemy in a counter-terrorism court. Two other bloggers have been accused along with him. Apparently, I'm not sure, and I'll be careful what I'm saying here, but I'm not sure whether he's an atheist blogger or just a secular blogger saying something progressive or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. He's typed something out on the tinterwebs, and they want him hanged for it. And this is, I think something like 75% of Pakistanis say blasphemy laws are necessary to protect Islam, according to a Pew poll, and I'm quoting from an article on the National Secular Society website here. What are your thoughts on this hashtag?
What in the massive fuck is that hashtag all about? You're actually calling for somebody to be hanged for what? For a few words that you don't like? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, but if you believe that your religion is so wonderful, which you're entitled to, you believe it, so obviously you think it's great, otherwise you won't believe it. But if it's that amazing, then surely it can withstand some bloody criticism. It does not need special laws to protect it. We have laws to protect people from discrimination. We should not have laws to protect religion or political views. Everything should be free to be mocked or criticized. These are the same people who moan about Islamophobia and how Muslims are targeted, and yet when an atheist or an agnostic person writes something they don't like, they're immediately calling for the death penalty. Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, it's
I'm
scary.
sorry, I feel really strongly about this. It's not just Ayaz Nizami. There's another person, Rana Noman, as well, who's equally involved in this quote-unquote crime, who's been named it. And Facebook is visiting Pakistan to cooperate with the Pakistani government, and they've taken down some quote-unquote blasphemous content. Who decides what is blasphemous, for crying out loud?
Yeah, tell me, I mean, do you know much about that? Because I had a quick scan of an article, but apparently there's a high percentage of material that's been reported as blasphemous on Facebook, and Facebook have capitulated to a really high percentage of them requests. I haven't got the exact number in front of me, but apparently, it's quite high.
I think it's about that much. Yes, it's about that much. And, this is Facebook that, refuses to take down violent content sometimes, but the Pakistani government clicks its fingers and it rushes over and takes down supposed blasphemous content.
Obviously, calling for the death of someone for blasphemy is fine, as long as you don't tell an American Hollywood actress that her movie's shit on Twitter. I think you'll be okay. I think that's the mistake Milo made. He went for a Hollywood actress when, if he'd just been calling for the death of people for blasphemy, he'd still be hashtagging away.
Absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Like I said, I mean, it's amazing that we still live in a world where you can't really criticize, someone's religion or someone's religious views. And this is probably where, some on the extreme right would sometimes feel vindicated, because they're always saying, why is Islam exempt from all of this? And, on the one hand, you think it's not that bad, but then something like this happens and you think, well, you know what? They've got a point, unfortunately. In this instance, they have got a point. It seems as though you can't really say anything about Islam and Muslims because you're scared that's going to kill you or injure you really badly. And again, on the one hand, they complain about Islamophobia, they'll complain about anti-Muslim bigotry. Anti-Muslim bigotry is, of course, real. But then as soon as somebody says something that challenges their worldview, they're instantly calling for their death or for them to be jailed. You think, I'm sorry, but it's not a one-way street. You can't expect people to respect your views, but then when someone expresses a view that you don't like, you immediately want them silenced. It goes both ways. If you want respect for your views, you want respect for you as a person, then you've got to give that back.
I completely agree. I mean, a lot of people might be forgiven for thinking this was just an issue with people from Pakistan, given they have blasphemy laws mandated there and there's such an overwhelming percentage of support for it. But there's a lot of people from places in the West supporting this hashtag that I noticed. This NSS report on this story notes as well that a poll carried out in 2016 found that 78% of British Muslims think there is no right to publish images of Muhammad. Now, this isn't even offensive images or, mocking images. This is just images of Muhammad. And that this is a form of blasphemy. This is like 78% of British Muslim polled support some level of blasphemy law, be it, this specific thing about depiction. And I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is to this. I do know what the answer is to this. It's to show these imageries and as often as possible until nobody cares anymore. And we've missed that boat, unfortunately. That ship sailed around about the time those cartoonists in France got gunned down at Charlie Hebdo HQ. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is anymore. I think I know what the answer is. We've lost it. It's gone. I have to be very careful where I post things that depict Mohammed. I mean, I bought the Charlie Hebdo edition, the next edition they released. After that, I imported it over, and it's got that big, image of Mohammed on the front. It's got a green background, nothing derogatory. And I was thinking about getting it framed in the house, just as a sort of tribute, and I talked myself out of it. my own house, thinking, well, what if the wrong person sees it? And this isn't just the fear of Muslims. This is the fear of what people who aren't Muslims might think about seeing this image, because it's been ingrained into their head that you never show a picture of Muhammad, and anyone that wants to has got some kind of racist, bigoted motives.
Well, Shia Muslims do depict Muhammad.
Exactly. They don't get a mention, do they?
Yeah. Muhammad looks like this really exotic Persian prince in their depictions, but yeah, they
it's the equivalent of white Jesus.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, they do look remarkably similar. Actually, it's quite spooky, but yeah, Shia Muslims have constantly depicted Muhammad or Ali or the Prophet's daughter. What about them? Are they being blasphemous as well? Oh, but then again, they're not real Muslims, because obviously only Sunni Muslims are real Muslims, and only if you subscribe to a very conservative viewpoint can you be a true Muslim. What is a true Muslim, Stephen? Can you tell me?
I think I provided a perfect example before when I mentioned the AK-47 firing, flag waving hijabi woman on Westminster Bridge. I think that's pretty much what the general public comes to expect you to be if you want to call yourself a Muslim.
Night?
Yeah. But
I'm actually going to get a knock from counter-extreme terrorism officers any minute now.
It's silly. With Christianity and any other faiths, we let people pick and choose. When I say let people, obviously I'm not granting the position, but I mean it's accepted. There's not, if you're a Christian but you're in a premarital relationship, nobody cares about these things anymore. You're a Christian but you don't go to church, etc., etc. The list of things that Christians don't do anymore is getting bigger than the actual Bible, which is fine. That's progression as far as I'm concerned. But we don't afford that same privilege to Muslims. We have to keep them in this conservative box, unfortunately, and it's not good. It's not only have we got large portions of the Muslim community reinforcing this conservative version of Islam, but when we've got people who are non-Muslims doing exactly the same thing, and it's been reinforced from both sides, it's just a tinderbox of extremism. When you get
I don't know, Mufti Peter Hitchens telling us that person isn't really Muslim or whatever, then you think, yeah. But I was speaking to somebody a couple of days ago who wrote a blog on Charlie Hebdo supporting it, and he just said the comments underneath were all full of death threats, saying, "Oh, we're going to find you and kill you." And he took down the blog. And I don't know if he wrote it anonymously or if he put it under his name, but he just took it down.
Self-censorship, that's the fear.
Well, when someone's threatening to kill you, that's kind of understandable.
I agree. But that's the point that I like to keep ramming home. I'm not saying I'm the bravest man in the world. I'm not going to walk to Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester with pictures of the Prophet, start waving them around, shouting "fuck Allah." Now, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say the only reason I'm not doing that is because I don't want to offend and I think we should respect people's beliefs and I want to be culturally sensitive. No, I'm not going to do that because I don't want my head chopping off. That's why I won't do it. It is fear, and that fear is justified. I just wish people would acknowledge that instead of lying about the reasons why we shouldn't be treating this religion with as much ridicule and mockery as Christianity or Scientology or any of the other great faiths. Anything else you want to add to BBC Asian Network? Apart from a fatwa?
No, except that maybe they should really change up their presenters. It's sort of gone a bit blah at the moment, where the questions, the topics are okay, but then the questions are really, and then the moderators are just, I don't know.
You've been on, haven't you? You've been on the show. You've been on BBC Asian Network before, haven't you?
I've called in as a guest.
I got invited. Just so you know. Don't want to rub that in, Iram, but I got invited.
For?
I can't remember. It was a while back. It's amazing how many radio invites you get if you write a successful blog, which just means to me that researchers go trawling through Twitter to see who's talking about what and who's making an impact. But yeah, it happened. I must have been I don't know if I definitely know I've been invited to BBC Asian Network once. It might have been more than a few times. I think it was after that Real Housewives of ISIS thing I jotted out. But it was like I was at work. I'm at my desk. I can't really come and talk on the radio. I can't really answer right now. I can't really answer your questions, unfortunately, because I have a job. But no, I'm surprised. I thought you would have been all over that.
There are a few things that they did invite me on for, actually, but again, most of us, unlike Mo Ansar, have a job, so we can't. I think I should become a presenter on the BBC Asian Network, because for one thing, I wouldn't ask what the right punishment for blasphemy is.
You'd have to go into hiding before lunchtime if you hosted that show. It's like witness protection.
If that happens, I expect you to start a hashtag for me.
I will pretend I've never met you. It's that fear thing again. Imran who? Never heard of him.
That is it. I'm going to haunt you when I'm killed for being blasphemous.
Well, I have another contender for an ASLAN, and this is, I mean, it's exceptional, really. It embodies the Dunning-Kruger effect quite beautifully, and this is a guy called Andy Kindler. Now, I'm not familiar with his work, but he's an American comedian, successful TV personality. He's well known. I mean, I YouTubed him after this latest episode, and he's fairly funny. It's not my cup of tea, but I noticed a while back, for some reason, he was utterly obsessed with Ricky Gervais on Twitter. Like, I mean, he still is. If you search for his tweets, Ricky hasn't responded to a single one of these. I'm assuming he must be either blocked or muted. But it's just constant stream of hatred for Ricky Gervais, jumping on every little thing he says and trying to make a big deal out of it. Really not even funny. It's kind of like the thing if Ricky Gervais gets murdered tomorrow, I'd tell the police to go and speak to Andy Kindler. It's kind of that weird, psychotic love letter type, I hate you, but I'm quite jealous, and there's something about you I'm attracted to, sort of rage he has towards Gervais. I'm blocked by Andy Kindler because I think I had a little go at him when I noticed this, because he seems to hate critics of religion. And then he's been going after Sam Harris as well, and I think Sam Harris drew attention to it. So there's a podcast host called Josh Steps. Seems like a really nice guy. Does a good show. Invited Andy Kindler on to basically lay down his argument against Sam Harris, why he doesn't like Sam Harris, what he has against him, why he's dedicating so much of his time sending him abuse on Twitter, essentially. And he essentially, and I really don't think I'm mischaracterising what happened here, he just shouted bigot for 30 minutes. And it was so incoherent, and you could tell he's never thought about... his entire argument seemed to boil down to, I don't know anyone who supports Al-Qaeda. I don't know anyone who supports terrorism. Well, that's lovely, Andy. Can we talk about the people that do, please? Did you hear this? Did you listen to it?
I didn't, unfortunately.
It's only half an hour. It's incredible. It will be a case study in someone's psychology course one day. Maybe psychiatry. Yeah, definitely. That'll be there. That'll be on the syllabus. There'll be a condition, and they'll listen to that. And I know I'm being a bit glib here, but I'm not entirely joking. So he basically called Sam Harris a bigot for 30 minutes. Couldn't even say why he thought he was a bigot. I think the only thing he referenced of Sam Harris was that he said Islam was the motherlode of bad ideas on the Bill Maher show. Which, you could say it's hyperbole, or, you could try and make an argument for that. I happen to agree with Sam. But to say that's bigotry is a bit of a stretch. So he's not relented. He's getting a lot of abuse on Twitter for this appearance now, quite right. Not abuse, should I say, a lot of criticism, and quite right. And he's not relented. He's still going for it. So if anyone gets a chance, check out at Andy Kindler. You can go to gspellchecker.com as well and read my blog on this. There's the audio file embedded on that as well, just to listen to it and see if you can figure out if this is a condition or whether it's the best satirical, regressive character you've ever heard in your life.
I've just checked out his Twitter, and...
What's the first tweet?
I've scrolled down a lot now, but in one tweet where he's going on about new atheists, and in another he asks, why don't Islamophobes like Bill Maher, who are obsessed with quote-unquote radical Islam, blame the lunatic ravings of Netanyahu on quote-unquote radical Judaism? Why are the two mutually exclusive? I mean, again, if that's what you think, then if you think Netanyahu is an advocate of radical Judaism, then are you saying that radical Islam is a problem? Because no one's saying that only Muslims are extremists. There are extremists in a lot of societies and religions. Just because, you don't have to say, oh, what about Christian extremists? Well, yeah, we can talk about them too, but we're not going to shut up about radical Islam. It's not an either or. Well,
he's bringing up Israel, essentially, is what he's doing. And is Israel short on criticism? Is that under the radar? Is nobody talking about Israel?
Oh, wow, yeah, because Israel never gets criticised.
I've no idea.
Does it?
Never, no idea what's going on in Israel because no one ever talks about it.
Oh, God.
In my magical world of unicorns and fairy dust.
Well, he also retweeted somebody, I have no idea who it is, but it says, Bill Maher, someone who believes all religion is a farce and a waste of time, is easily going to latch onto perceived abuses in Islam and run with it. I mean, wow. Is this guy for real?
So I think, rather than bring any more undue attention to Andy Kindler, I'm going to vote for the BBC Asian Network for this week's ASLAN Award, although I feel a little bit bad about that because they did apologise, whereas Andy Kindler has gone deeper into the insanity. So I don't know, I'll let you cast the winning vote on this one.
This is a difficult one because...
Let's give it to La La Land.
Bizarre, but...
Have I missed the boat on Oscar jokes? Is it too late?
I think it is, yeah.
Shit.
I think I'm going to have to go with the BBC Asian Network because as a broadcaster, they should really know better. Whereas Andy Kindler is just looks like a dweeb, to be honest. And he just spends too much time on Twitter bashing Bill Maher. I mean, really, get a girlfriend, Andy. Or boyfriend, whichever way.
Whichever, of course.
Whichever, we're not judging. We're not judging. Unlike some fundamentalist Muslims who would hate the fact that you're gay. See, we don't judge.
Oh, fantastic. So I think we've pretty much nailed it again for 1 week. But if there's anything else you want to finish off with, now's the time.
Loads of stuff we could probably talk about, but I'm all right with that. Somebody wanted, I mean, we could go through the Twitter questions. Somebody wanted us to talk about Article 50, but I'm not sure what they'd want us to say about Article 50. Except what? It's the end times as we know it.
The sky is going to fall, the nukes are all going to simultaneously launch and wipe out mankind, and then John Connor's going to have to send his dad back in time to impregnate his mother so that the future war doesn't happen. I've just realised I'm talking about the Terminator and not Article 50. But it's around there, isn't it, in terms of the scaremongering? There's a big unknown coming, and I'm optimistic, but we shall see.
Somebody posted a video of the Manchester Uni ISOC playing verses of the Quran to students and lectures around campus, and it's about breaking stereotypes apparently. But then you wonder to yourself, which verses are they playing? I mean, are they playing verse 434 to beat women, or Surah 9 or Surah 33, or some of the other problematic verses about your wives being a tilth for you, go into your tilth as you will? Which verses are they going to be playing?
Well, there's a guy who, I don't know if you've seen him in Piccadilly Gardens, just near where Rice is, under the bridge bit, because as much as they have the power of God, they can't handle rain. So the Jehovah's Witnesses do it as well. They congregate near Shoedale, and then the second there's any bit of drizzle, which is quite frequent in Manchester, as you can imagine, they disappear near the car park where it's, they don't have much faith really. But he was blasting out. I just got off the tram after the Westminster attack, and he's there blasting out the Muslim call of prayer into Piccadilly Gardens, and you know when you're thinking,
But that really reassured people.
it's like, come on, mate, come on, chill your beans, mate. So I'm just thinking, I've got. Next time I see him, I might just go over and see if he's up for a little chat, and I might live stream it and see what happens, and then obviously hate crime charges will follow shortly afterwards, but it will be I mean, I honestly think I could speak to him and be quite amiable, and I think we could have a constructive chat rather than an argument. I could do so without being antagonistic, so I think next time I see him...
You're not going to shout bigot in his face?
Bigots! Yeah, probably not. So next time I see him, I will ask him if he wants to speak to me, and I'll try and stream it. All right, well, what's happening on Sedda at the minute? What are the top articles? What are people reading? What's the haps?
Well, with the whole blasphemy, blasphemous post being taken down on Facebook, Mo Dawa decided to talk about the real scourge of our time, which is blasphemiophobia.
So that's at King of Dawah, Dawah. He's a Muslim community leader on Twitter.
He's the king of all community leaders. He's the community leader of all leaders.
Exactly, and that person is genius. The satire on that account is so good. It is absolutely spot on.
You say satire, but
Sorry, I apologise. I should take it more seriously. Well, yeah, I love that account. I would recommend everyone should follow that. I can't believe that they have fewer followers than me. They're under, right, so they've got 9,963 followers. I'm pretty sure we can push them over the 10,000 mark just on this conversation. So go to Twitter and follow at King of Dawah. Dawah is Dawah. Obviously, that's the Dawah is the Islamic principle of spreading the word of Allah, is it not? I'm not wrong in that approximation.
Dawah just literally means an invite, but in this context, it's about proselytizing, and it's about inviting people to be open to the message of Islam. It's basically about proselytizing, really.
It's evangelism, isn't it, in a way?
But better.
But better, just more Islamic-y.
You go to all these Islamic events, the food tends to be better.
That's true, isn't it?
It really is.
There's, gender inequality and jihad on one side, but the chapatis are first class.
Chapatis, samosas, you name it. That's why there are more converts to Islam. They lure you in with the food.
You're onto something again, something our security service has not considered, and that's the classic onion barge. All right, I'm glad we managed to find the time, because once again we're both very incredibly important, busy people who don't have the time for this kind of nonsense, but do it anyway. So you listeners are welcome. People can find you on Twitter, can't they? If you could just tell us your Twitter address for everyone.
Well, I suppose if you must. It is Iram_Ramzan. It's not Imran. It's not Iram.
How are you spelling underscore?
F off.
And where can people find Sedda?
It is at Sedda, SEDAA_ our voices, and then just check out some of the articles and blogs that we have on the website. Which is,
Sedda is Persian for voice, is it not?
Oh, well done. Your Persian is coming along nicely, Stephen.
Just to make sure for the hardcore listeners that make it right to the end and usually pick up on a code word to tweet out, I'm going to set them a new task. You need to go to Google Images. You need to type in Gordon the Gopher, get an image of that, and tweet it to Iram, please, or both of us.
Oh my God.
So the first person to do that wins a signed copy of Chris Matheson's book, The Story of God, because I've got a copy of it. So let's. Wow. I've got 3 copies of it. The first 3 people who live in the UK, because I'm not sure if I can. I'm not sure if I can. I'm just trying to in Manchester, who I can walk around to. I'm not sure. I mean, I can post it to
on Stephen Street.
Yeah, well, I can post it to anywhere in the world, but I can't guarantee its delivery. I can't send it a recorded delivery.
Yeah, if you live in Pakistan, we're not delivering to you.
You're not.
Okay.
Fuck off if you live in Pakistan. Is my no? Okay, actually, anywhere. We'll say anywhere, but you accept the fact that it might not turn up. I will post it But if it doesn't turn up, I can't help you. If you happen to be in the UK, I'll send it via recorded delivery. So the first 3 people who tweet images of God and the gopher to me and Iram win a signed copy of Chris Matheson's The Story of God. There you go.
It has to be to me and you.
To both of us.
Not just you.
Okay.
To me, to you, to me.
To me, too. This is the most convoluted competition ever.
My day is going to be very.
You are going to get so pissed off with picture of this gopher.
God. Wow, that's a new one for TTM. Excellent.
You know what would be the most depressing thing? Nobody does it.
Oh, come on, they will. I have faith in our listeners. I don't
Inshallah.
really, but I do have faith in you all, because you gotta have faith.
Okay, and on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless. Subhanallah. Thank you very much to the excellent Iram Ramzan, and thank you very much for listening. You can keep up to date on the podcast at gspellchecker.com. You can see some of the writing from Iram and her excellent contributors over at sedar.org. Please share around the podcast and leave a review. Think we've all learned something here today? All right, I'll just do the usual introduction when you're ready.
Yep, I'm ready when you are.
Should we go with American announcer voice? Professional Brit? What should we do?
American TV host voice.
Welcome to Taking the Myth. Or BBC, what was like 1950s BBC? Hello, if you just tuned in.
Welcome.
Welcome to Taking the Myth.
That's brilliant. Actually, that is really good. So if podcasting doesn't work out for you, you can do impressions.